Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our risk management. I hope that your semester is going well. I met a couple of you this week, and it's kind of nice to put a face with a name on an online class because I don't often get to do that. So, welcome. I apologize again for the homework mess up. That was completely my fault. There's two different homework ones out there. I'm not going to count it against you since it was my fault, but the one that I put that says homework 1 corrected will greatly help you whenever you get ready to take your exam, because it actually covers the material we're supposed to cover, and the other one covered material that we'll cover later on in class. So I do apologize for that. Anyway, as you go through your reading this week is going to talk about regulation of insurance and how that we regulate insurance companies and some interesting things with that. Your insurance company is rated just like a bond is. You can pull the rating for your insurance company off the internet and see how well that they are doing financially. That's public information. The other thing that's really interesting is that they're regulated by the states. It's extremely important. When we talk about regulation, typically the hairs stand up on the back of our neck, and we're not happy with that, at least as finance people, because regulation always costs money. I guess the good thing to that is our regulation also creates jobs. But we have lots and lots of regulation in the insurance market. The big thing, though, is it's regulated at the state level. Most of you in this class are in Oklahoma, not all of you, but every state in the United States has an insurance commissioner. They're members of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, which make things coordinated between states. However, insurance companies are regulated at the state level. The reason that that's true, and it's not true for other financial institutions, is because we've never had a big blow up in the insurance industry. The movie that you watched talked about what happened with Louisiana and the fact that we had a large number of positively correlated losses. However, the people who were supposed to get paid still got paid. Once we have a blow up in the insurance industry, we're going to end up with federal regulation. That's just the way that works. But if you're wondering why the federal government keeps bailing out AIG, that's why. No one wants to see what will happen if AIG goes away, because it will be catastrophic for the insurance industry as a whole. And we as Americans expect that our insurance company is actually going to pay us when they're supposed to. They always have. We've never had an insurance company become insolvent and their insured not get paid in the United States. So just keep that in mind as you read through this. Regulation's an interesting thing, but it's an industry that tends to police itself very well. So keep that in mind. Also, your discussion questions are posted. There's only one discussion question up for next week. I will put another one up. Just because I'm trying to work ahead a little bit. I'm having a little procedure next Tuesday, so on Tuesday I won't be available, but I should be the rest of the week. I'm only be down and out for probably less than one day, but if you will respond to the ones for this week, if you want to work ahead on next week, that's always fine, but I'll go ahead and post those as well. I apologize that the ones for this week weren't available until this morning. Something else you need to do, though, if you look in your syllabus, you have a project, and I'll put a template up for that project here in the next day or so. I'm actually editing some things from it to make it a little different than it was in the past. The big thing that you need to do this week is think about what you're going to do for your project. With it, you'll be required to evaluate the risk for two different things. It can be with the same person in two different things, but one of them is going to have to be life insurance. Many of you in this class are married. I don't know who all is married and who all is not married. I don't know who has kids and who doesn't, but you'll know that better than anyone. So as you go through this, the best person to use as an example for this is yourself. The things that you put will be strictly confidential, so I'm not going to disclose your and your spouse's, your and your kids' financial problems and opportunities to the world. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to make it practical. So as you go through this project, I would encourage you to do this with yourself in mind. The other insurance option you can pick later on can be property insurance, can be liability insurance, lots of different things. Can be some kind of commercial insurance. But I would use yourself as the guinea pig. Some of you out there are saying, well, I'm young and I'm not married, I don't have any kids, I don't ever desire to have kids, I don't plan to get married. So from the life insurance aspect, you're not a good insurable risk. If you look at the idea of what determines insurable risk, you don't have a lot of liability should you pass away. In that case, I would encourage you to use your parents if they're still alive, and that's a really awkward conversation to have with your parents. Go and say, hey mom, dad, what happens if you don't make it home tomorrow? But it's something that you might want to think about. And I say this from my own perspective. I lost my father a year ago. Mom and dad had planned pretty well, and I knew what they had planned, but my best friend lost his dad 2 years ago on Christmas Day and didn't have a clue what to do. His parents hadn't planned very well, and if your parents haven't planned very well, probably you're going to be the one who gets to clean up after them. It's probably justice. They've probably cleaned up after you at some point in your life, but it's an interesting conversation to have. It's an awkward conversation to have. So many of you will find this as an awkward conversation to have with your spouse. I don't apologize for that. It's probably something that you need to do, but just know that going in, it can be an awkward conversation to have. I guess the really good thing is about half the people who go through this process, through this class, figure out that they probably have too much insurance. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There can be some problems with that when we talk about indemnity next week. Typically not with life insurance. Indemnity is not an issue because it's hard to put a value on a human life. But when we talk about property insurance, or especially disability insurance, we can have some indemnity problems. So those are things that you want to think about over the next couple of weeks. But I encourage you to sit down with your spouse. The biggest thing you need to do is get your stuff together. It'll make this project a lot easier if you have all your tools in hand. Your insurance agent's going to love you because you're probably going to call him and get rates on things that you don't have coverage for right now, which makes it easy for them. But hopefully you'll find this practical. I'm not encouraging you to go buy a bunch of products. I'm encouraging you to protect your family and protect your assets. So anyway, that's the other discussion you need to have besides this class, is discussion with someone who you're going to evaluate risk on. If you don't have anyone at all, you don't know anyone, you don't have any family members, I'll be happy to find someone who can help you with this. Your insurance agent will probably be happy to help you with it as well. That's one of the things that they're trained to do. But anyway, I would encourage you to do that. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. There was a question, a great question on the Blackboard about why can't we see the discussion questions, and I apologize. There's a radio button I did not click, and it's on now, so you should be able to see those. But please feel free to ask. You can feel free to call me. Like I said, next Tuesday I'll be out of pocket a little bit, but feel free to email me or call me. A couple of you have called me, and it's perfectly fine to call me as long as it's before about 10:30 at night. So anyway, thank you all. I hope you're having a good week. If you have any questions, let me know. God bless.